Well, it's breakfast time. So today I've got some LN2 left in the Dura behind me, and the easiest and quickest way to get rid of LN2 is to run Skylake X. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've got my 7940X under here. I already ran it last week, I think. Oh, someone did 3300X. Interesting. 100. Oh, this is on water. Okay, fair enough. 4.7, almost 4.7 on water isn't bad. So where did I want to go? So the target for today is Cinebench, but did I actually run a 4K? I think I ran a 4K the other day, actually. No, that's my ambient stuff. Did I ran a 1080p, that's right. So how's everyone doing? Around midnight in Europe, I think. If I'm doing my maths right. I didn't even run a 1080p. Maybe I just never subbed it. I thought I did run a 1080p. Okay, well, the one score I did get out the other day was, well, I got a 5.6, but I actually was able to set 5.7. 1110 in the homeland. Is that the UK? Yeah, I think that's, well, either Ireland or the UK. I don't think anyone else of note is yeah, my homeland. Anyone else of note is in that time zone. So before I set up the rig, there's a few things to talk about, I think. So temperature control is critical. Hey, Paladin. Fix the link. What was wrong with the link? But thanks for fixing it. An A at the end. Weird. All right. Anyway, so Skylake X. So what's important about Skylake X on LN2? Well, a few things. First of all, mount is absolutely critical. You know, you don't really have the option of running direct die, so you have two thermal interfaces that you have to worry about. And because the heat load is so high, I think what happened when I ran this was my mount was already degraded. So earlier on in the session, I did a 5.7 32M, and it really didn't feel like I was anywhere near the limit. I think the chip is quite good. I got it from a pretty good, well, I got it from a random ambient bencher, but who seemed to have gotten pretty good results on it. So I don't think, for a short bench like W prime 32M, I don't think necessarily that like 5.8 is out of the question. But you have to have a few things that you have to keep in mind. So you need to optimize LLC. You need to make sure your PSU doesn't OCP. You need to optimize vCore. You need to have a good mount, and your pouring needs to be on point, basically. So under load, you can pour to under where the cold bug is, but then at the end of the run, you have to do certain things to make sure that you don't hit cold bug at the end of the run. So this 5.5 run, that was pretty easy going, like only 1.5 vCore and stuff. So basically, like, all of these things apply for any platform, but if you're running, let's say, AM3, DNAB on AM3, that's so different to Skylake X. Like on Skylake X, a difference of like 2 degrees on the pot could be all the difference between a pass and a fail. Yeah, Apex 6. It's an Apex. I have an OCF, but I really don't win XP. No, okay, so there's another difference here. So maybe just to go over it again, the X299 platform, there was boards that supported KBX and Skylake X, and there were boards that supported only Skylake X. The Apex supports KBX, but it's basically like a different path through the BIOS. Like it's a completely different, like you really notice it when you swap chips around. Like you'll probably get a 0-0 the first time you try to boot if you're swapping from SkyX to KBX. Windows XP support does not exist on any board for Skylake X. It only exists for KBX. So, and it's via a different BIOS. So there's like an old XOC BIOS that will do Windows XP for KBX only. I'm on just more like a regular sort of BIOS. But anyway, there's no Skylake X support for Windows XP. All right. Let's mount things up, basically, is the long and the short of it. Need to get my paste. Good old Kingpin KPX. If anyone's curious, this is what a single-sided DIMM looks like on the other side. At least for these G skills, they have this weird foam spacer to make up for the fact that there's no ICs on there. Can you see the DMI pin? Bottom of the resistors, bottom middle. It's a different color. For that reason, to not kill because that's again a KBX only thing. I actually put some tape on the back, so basically the DMI pin doesn't hit the back of my Skylake X chip. All right. Just got to redo my paste. So Q&A time, I suppose. I did some more 550 black editions. Had some fun there. I was trying to beat Chu's 4-core scores in W prime, but the one chip I tried wasn't good enough. So I had 9 chips. 1 I can't find now for some reason. 5 I'm selling. 1 is the one I did SuperPi 1M on. I think 6.35. Yeah. It's one of those things. I think it's fine. I think it actually doesn't do anything to have the DMI pin in there, but the guide that came out at the time that the Apex was released, so John, what's his name, Elmer's guide specifies Was it EMA or XA? It's been a while. 2017. The guide specifies that you should avoid having the pin hit the resistors. So if that's just the thing, you know, that's just there to point out the fact that if you don't put tape there, then you will, you know, create a fuck, there's so much paste on here. Create a circuit, like basically attach the DMI pin to the resistors at the back of the chip, or whether it's actually proven to cause damage. I just don't want to risk it. I've already RMA'd one 7940X. I think at a certain point it will get difficult. You know, re-gluing the IHS and all that, and sending the chip to Singapore, and just and just the waiting game as well. You know, basically your chip, if it ends up being a bad chip that you want to sell, you know, you're basically depreciating your chip while you're waiting for the RMA to go through. Yeah, better safe than sorry. Blueberries are the best thing ever. So I'm having cereal with blueberries. Nobody ever told me that they were so good. It's not a thing in Ireland, but in Australia people love them, and I'm glad they've introduced me to this culinary delight. So time to apply some blue goo. You've been doing much benching lately, Keep? You got those nice cards from Miller. Have you done any testing or anything? Just using a spatula to spread it around. This is absolutely critical. I mean, on the mainstream platform, the full pod platform, I'm not absolutely religious about redoing the paste under the IHS every single time. I think if it works well, if I basically end the session without a completely screwed mount, I may choose to just leave it, especially if the next session is just sort of testing. It's not pushing, you know, too much. But on Skylake X, basically, even at the best of times, you're under load. You will end up with some parts of the chip basically sort of almost at zero. They just heat up so much. I just, for the sake of the lifetime of the chip and just results, I redo the paste every time. 2 new dewars. So you had one that had a screwed vacuum, right? Did you end up dumping that? Are you picking up new dewars to increase? What I'm asking is, are you picking up new dewars to increase the capacity, or are you having to replace ones that broke or that you sold? All right. See this? I should probably be sanding the bottom of this IHS. It's really dull from the previous owner's liquid metal. As long as it's somewhat smooth, I suppose. Which it doesn't really appear to be honest. I do have sandpaper here. I may as well just give it a small sand. I don't know if this is a good or a bad idea, but let's see. Do you tend to run through your LN2 quickly? Like, because 25 liter isn't very good at holding. Ooh, that's coming off very quickly. I think this might have been a good decision. Just want to get the sort of blemish off of it. Because I have a 25-ish liter. And I tend to just run through it straight away. The only thing is now I don't want any of this grit to go into my paste. So I need to clean it. Also need to be careful about not sanding it down too much, because then you get bad contact. Actually, while I'm at it, I should probably be sanding. Where did that piece of paper go? Oh. So the bottom looks good now. I've never done this before. I'm talking like I've done this 100 times before, but in theory, I think it should make sense to also sand the edges now, so to kind of make up for the fact that I've reduced the thickness of the center. Whoa, holding LN2 for 2 months, nice. Yeah, I got this LN2 delivered two Fridays ago. So it's now Wednesday. So it's like almost 3 weeks. But I don't like hanging on to it that much. Like, I do know that I lose stuff. So this is my best. Well, the 35 liter that I'm using today is my best Dure. The other 35 isn't as good at holding. All right, this should do. Maybe I should give it a little bit of a polish with some ISO. Digger is the best. Please sponsor me. You gonna do next generation keep? Next generation AMD like you did last gen? All right, this should be all right. Let's see. Yeah, it seems to be making good contact there. First step is always to check for post after you've done anything to a chip. Actually, I'll attach the rods at least. 5000 series will be interesting to see. I mean, the numbers at the presentation were impressive, but it'll be interesting to see into what degree that actually translates into benching performance. Because, I mean, considering the IPC increase, it actually wouldn't surprise me too much if the chips clocked slightly worse on LN2. I don't know. I mean, they could also clock better, but X299 is always so hard to get the rods through. That's kind of why I was in two minds about even benching the end of the Dure with this, because realistically you want a lot of LN2 to run this. because there's so much prep time involved. You hear drilling helps. Yeah, I don't own a drill. Can let you know when NDA lifts. I think for a few generations now we've been hoping for 6G benchable, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like I say, I mean, I think it could. This is awkward. It could go either way. We could see worse clocks and similar performance, or better clocks and better performance. It's hard to know how things scale on LN2. Just annoys me a little bit that they've decided to call this a new architecture, you know. I don't know, I suppose it is, but it's the same process as the XTs. How are you doing, White Shark? Are you still doing 3D benching? The way this is going, I'm going to end up on streamerfails.com, or was it livestreamfails.com or something? Okay, this is looking promising. I may finally have one rod in. No LN2 left. How much your capacity do you have? So that's 2 rods. 50L. So 225s or 150? I kind of hate 50s because they're so hard to lift. And I have to carry my dewars up 2 sets of stairs. So if I had a 50, I would probably die. All right. We've inserted the rods. Well, it's doing something. Dewars are for storing LN2, liquid nitrogen. It's like a big thermos. It's a double-walled thing with a vacuum in between, because liquid nitrogen's boiling point is minus 100 and ooh, we have signal. Nice. Liquid nitrogen's boiling point is minus 193. So obviously at ambient temperature it tends to just boil off. So to counteract that, you use a dewar. All right, time for the second paste job. Yep, using it to cool CPUs or memory or GPUs. Today it's just the CPU. This is awkward. All right, that'll do. Yeah, not frenzy. You'll see in a minute how it all works. I'm glad I'm doing the setup today on stream. Sometimes I just start the stream when I'm already pouring or whatever. But since we have a newcomer on stream, hopefully it'll be somewhat educational. And I don't have a ton of LN2 left, and something like a W prime run basically uses an entire thermos, or almost an entire thermos. So I thought I would do the setup as well, just to still make it a, you know, like a 2-hour stream or something. Otherwise, there's the danger of it just being a 45-minute stream. There, that's pretty neat. Sysadmin. Well, I'm a sysadmin too, but I don't do any LN2 overclocking at work. If I did, I'd love my job way more than I do. All right. Hopefully it trains all 5 channels or 4 channels. BD. Oh, that's looking good. What do the LEDs say? Oh, the LEDs are 1 down, aren't they? Apparently only train 2 channels. That's weird. Let's double check. Yeah, only train 2 channels. Let's shuffle around the dims a little bit. So now we've got 3. You're seeing this, right? These LEDs indicate what DIMM's trained. So I swapped these 2 around, and that gave me an extra channel on this side of the socket. So hopefully I can do the same on the other side, just reseat the DIMMs. But let's just double check that we really have 24 gigs showing up on post. Come on, board. Yeah, so we've got our 24 gigs. Now let's swap the other DIMMs. Well, overclocking is also done in a lab, so it's not as far away as you might think. Still only 3. That's a shame. All right, let's clean the inside slot. I did see a little bit of dirt in there, so let's just let that evaporate off. What the hell is up with this camera? Stop moving, damn it. Do we have any more juicy video cards rumors? ASRock boards. They haven't had good AMD boards since forever, actually, pretty much. So they're not even re-releasing any boards. They're just giving out new BIOSes, aren't they? Hmm. $5,600 could release at $220. Yeah, I suppose that's inevitable, but it still seems a bit expensive considering the X was $250 last gen. Everything's to be confirmed. Fair enough. What's a Gundam? Whatever this thing is gonna be a Maximus Extreme. Fair enough. Up early, yes. 9:49. All right, how are these dims going? They look dry. And so do the slots. Let's pray for four sticks detected. Nope. All right, time for a remount. We call this contact cleaner magic spray because it fixes everything magically. So giving the back of the chip a blast of that, giving the socket itself a blast of that. Pretty sure it's a socket thing. While that's happening, I'm going to be stingy and try and salvage a bit of this paste. A few of the pads on the back of the chip are a bit worn out looking. So that's a bit of a concern. Let's see, maybe the mounting pressure was a bit too much. It's always a balancing act. You kind of want a bit of mounting pressure to get a good mount, but if you put too much pressure on it, you start to lose RAM channels. So let's see what happens now. Okay, so we have 4 channels now. All 4 LEDs are lit up. Now it's just a question of getting everything back together again while not losing a channel, which is harder than you'd think. Also, the thermal probe detached. Just have to reattach that to the base. Fun. I love these EK probes. They're the best. I actually don't know if EK still makes them. Well, EK never made them. They were always just a rebrand of something generic, but they're just nice and flexible, lightweight, easy to work with, accurate. As I just drip thermal paste all over my mouse pad. Not something it hasn't seen before though, so. All right, thermal probe is reattached. Just gonna scrape the rest of the blue goo from the bottom of the pot. The pod probably needs a bit of a, I don't know, lap or something as well. It's reasonably flat, but it's not great. All right, I'm gonna post it now with no mounting pressure, just to make doubly sure we're still on the right track. And then I'll give it this the slightest amount of mounting pressure ever, and just attach the fan and stuff, and then we can go. Okay, still got all 4 channels. All right, triple checking. 2 a.m. Good night. Have a good sleep. Okay, so it's posting now. Let's attach all the fans. Turn on the socket heater. Load up a bias profile. Cool. That only took 57 minutes. Fan is on. Socket heater. Socket heater is slowly getting there. Let's attach a VRM heater as well. VRM fan as well. All right, getting some LN2. So the plan now is to pull down to about minus 30, flip the LN2 mode switch, apply the LN2 profile, and then hopefully just go with a Cinebench run. Like I said, I don't have a massive amount of LN2. Just crossing 0 degrees now. As my monitor craps out. Minus 13. I think the first run will have to be a 5.4 gig run just to get something on the board. Minus 34. Okay, let's do it. So it actually doesn't allow you to load the LN2 profile without LN2 mode enabled. That's interesting. It just does, like, it has these ambient profiles. Didn't notice that before. Minus 41. Also time to glaze the pot. But let's first get into BIOS. Still got 32 gigs of RAM. That's always nice. So LN2 mode enabled. But it hung up. Yeah, LN2 mode lock could be good. It's hanging on BD now. Let's throw in a safe boot. Of course, this cable is somehow in the way. All right, we still have 4 channels, right? Yeah. All right. Come on, bias. So now we have high core count LN2. I was having issues training the RAM last time I was running this on an LN2. So I might have to go easy. I might have to do like 3200 C14 or something like that. D5, 62, A2. A9 means entering bias. Keeps hanging. Let's just try and do a straight boot. All right, hanging on 64. Okay, let's take note of our temp. We're at -70. If this boots, then maybe that's a good temperature to boot at. Famous last words. Okay. Let's get more LN2. let's get down to maybe minus 75, minus 80, something like that, and then just knock out a run. Well, not just. Okay, minus 79, 5.4 G, 3.5 cash, I think. Gotta check my current limit and LLC settings. It's always a big issue. Think we should be cool enough to get into bias now. I'm aiming for a completed run at the moment. That's what I'm aiming for. A9. I don't know what our bias hangs were about. Maybe now that we're colder, it's going to be easier. Zero, zero. Off. Level 7 to 40. That looks promising. Ah, okay. Maybe safer to apply some sort of DRAM voltage. Okay, so maybe it was just temperature control. I was hoping this chip would be able to do 5.4 all day long, but so the usual. But what I'll do now is go down to proper temps, so minus 90. I'm already at minus 79, so just give it an extra 10 degrees or so. Maybe I need a little bit more VCore as well. I'm very hesitant to boot a higher VCore because that's just going to eat through LN2 even more than I'm already doing. Ooh, I don't want 2 instances of Turbo V. I hate the fact that numlock is never applied. Okay, so 1.5 is applied. We've got our Encore. Now we just need temps. What we also need is the alien. That's what was missing. Okay, we just had a random reboot. Let's keep, I think, let's not mess around with Turbo V. Let's just do it all via temp control to begin with. We can pull down now already. Minus 88. Clocks are applied. Minus 94, that's a good time to run. Oof. Okay. Oh. Well, it certainly wasn't too hot. Now it just becomes a question of Encore maybe. but also volts. Too warm. I'm going to hit run at minus 90 exactly. There we go. It's not great, is it? The internal temperature sensor is showing minus 11. That sounds all right. It's not accurate on the lower temps anyway, as long as it's not showing positive temps. That's, you know, correct. Now we have some sort of cold boot bug. May as well try and work out the RAM. It's not going to go into Windows this cold anyway. Come on, BIOS. Okay. So first thing we can do is just try 100 less. Even the cache, I mean, I'm not too bothered if I have to knock a little bit off the cache, but even something like 3600 loose timings should be possible at 1.7. Yeah, it's these random hangs where I'm not sure what's going on. Is the board screwed or something? I should apply the lower clocks first actually. I should actually go 3G on core, 5.3 core, and then mess around with the RAM. So the usual. That's a sick burn. It depends on the platform. I mean, on AM3, I can probably loop 6.5G, whatever, SuperPi all day, but on this kind of platform, everything has to be just right. Makes me think twice about running it cold for 3D actually. Yeah, now it's hanging on 60. Just won't do anything RAM related. Okay. Minus 62, so it should be warm enough to boot into Windows again. Just gonna have another look at the XOC guide. I read it the other day, but never a bad idea to re-review it. So we can skip the KBX section. Sky. Yeah, cold boot, cold bug, minus 100. Minus 50 to boot. Okay, I need to be over 1.4 for Vcache and Vcore. That's the profile will take care of that. Okay, seem to be booting. That's good. SVID disabled. Current capability 240. I might just go down to 5G. I don't know why the profile is so high. It doesn't make any sense to me because you might hang booting while you're on a lower temp. Well, warmer temp, higher temp, I suppose. Input 2.1 to 2.3, core 1.45 to 1.6. Cache frequency scales with cache voltage, no shit. May take up to 10 seconds to apply a ratio. Okay, let's just take one more thing out of the equation. Eventually I'll just end up at ambient clocks the way things are going. RAM is already worse than ambient. Cache is basically at ambient. $62, $79, E5, $62 again. Green light, 98. 4 dims. Slow boot. Okay, minus 39. Should be plenty warm enough to get into Windows, and then we can pull down again and apply core only. Eureka! I'll go to about -70 and then I'll do a sanity run at 5G. It doesn't take long, so why not do it? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I could drop Encore a little bit more. The other idea would be to, well, could also be a crack, but let's hope not. The other idea would be to just run a different bench. What have I even got on here? A little 1080p run, maybe. I don't get it. Yeah, gotta try lower cash now. It's hardly ever my day, really. Okay, so LN2 mode on, 0 offset, sync all cores. Let's go 25 cash, whatever. SFIT disabled, timing on auto, LLC 7, everything on extreme. Input is a little low, but it really shouldn't have this high of an impact, really. I mean, that's the next thing I can try, but some of this stuff can probably be disabled, but I mean 2.5 cash. If that doesn't work, then we really need higher input. I mean, I've killed chips on stream before and stuff, and this is kind of, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be this bad, but this is more or less what I was expecting. I kind of just wanted to get rid of whatever's left in my duer, and this is the kind of thing I like to do at the end of all my duers, is just testing, you know. It could be input voltage related. It could be. Screw it. Let's just Let's just see what happens. Okay, so that was minus 47. Okay, I think the cash is just screwed. As pathetic as this may seem, I'm actually gonna save this score because I think it's slightly higher than my 4.9 ambient run. Okay. I didn't set priority either. Maybe priority was screwing with the OS, but let's go. How come? Maybe just a random hang up. I keep the cash low and I'll go 5.3. Straight from bias. Yeah, I got 23 more Cinebench points than my chilled run. Would be nice to beat Billy, but ain't gonna happen at this point, I think. What was he running? The Dark. So just in case VCore is a factor, I don't care about burning through my LN2 anymore. Let's also go 1.5 VCore. So Windows 10, yeah, really good RAM. Once I'm booted, I need to get another Dewar or another flask. Haven't had a hang on this before. A2. All right, that's good. Let's get a flask. Let's get nice and cold. Minus 85, 86, 87, 88, 90. Let's run. Okay, we broke the 4,000 points. That's something. Oh god, it's been a struggle. But persistence pays off, as they say. Okay, last time I tried to apply a ratio, it hung, but we're colder now, and that applied. That's the first step. Minus 92. Yeah, maybe it's cutting it a bit too close there. It's minus 106. And cold bugging hard. It's a good opportunity to torch up a bit, maybe glaze the pot a bit better. I got a bit too excited there. These systems don't like big temperature changes as you're putting load on them. So you want to be cold, but you don't want to be kind of coming down into the ideal temperature as you're putting load on. You basically want to drip feed to the right temperature and then keep drip feeding through the, ideally keep drip feeding through the bench as well. And now of course we're too warm to boot Windows anymore. So the torching, as we're waiting for this to get warmer anyway. So I'm not actually, they call it trade flame. So it's map gas, MAPP. Does it say uses? I don't know. It's basically the warmest burning torch you can buy just in a hardware store. And yeah, you just have a head, and it's actually just running out. Actually, I think I might need a new one. So I think it burns, you can look it up, you can Google it anyway, but I think it burns around 3000 Celsius. So why would you want to torch your LN2 pot? Well, there's at least two different reasons. Skylake X is a so-called code-bugged architecture. So unlike KVX, Coffee Lake, Ryzen, AIM3, whatever, it actually doesn't function at the minimum temperature of LN2, so minus 190 something. So you're trying to maintain a temperature. And how do you maintain the temperature? If you want to go colder, you pour, and if you go warmer, you torch. Pour, torch, pour, torch. So that's how you do it. I mean, what you would ideally want is a piece of equipment that just maintains that temperature, like a cascade or something, where you could, ideally you'd have just some sort of a cascade or whatever that you can attach directly to the CPU, and you set a temperature and it never deviates from that. Because you're sometimes at zero load and sometimes at full load, that's not really realistic. So the way that you end up doing it, because I'm currently streaming, I'm not doing a good job of it, but if you had, for example, two benchers, what you would do is you would have one person doing the run and the other person doing nothing but torching and pouring. So the absolute ideal temperature control through something like Cinebench would be drip feeding LN2 at the beginning to arrive at the perfect starting temperature, then telling the other guy or gal to press run. I'm going to reboot actually. And then once the run starts, drip feeding the LN2 at the ideal rate, maybe even going below the cold bug temperature, because under load the CPU itself will be warmer than what the pod temperature is showing. And then at the end of the run, you may even have to torch. So once you're sort of at 95% of the run, maybe you have to torch a little bit, because as the load is going off, or the CPU, the actual internal temp, which you won't see it on your temperature probes, but the internal temperature of the CPU will be going down. So you have a scenario where, you know, your probe is on in the pot, and then the CPU is below it, and there's a layer of TIM, an IHS, another layer of TIM, and the bottom of the pot in between that. So the way that the temperature probe reacts to the actual temperature of the CPU is too laggy to give you a real idea of what's going on. I mean, it will give you a real idea of what's going on, but not fast enough. So you basically, to give you sort of rough numbers, idle, the CPU may function at -100. Under load, this is pod temperatures I'm talking about. Under load, it may function at -110, 115. And then as the load is coming back off of it again, you may even see that you might need -95 at 0% load. And on top of all that, it also doesn't react very well to big temperature changes. So because you have got like basically every solid, I don't know, I'm basically going into like materials engineering now, but hopefully you can stay with me. Every solid that I know of, like every common solid, contracts when it's cold and expands when it gets warmer. So depending on how much of a temperature difference you're trying to achieve, that may not be good for the system, because the pins at the back of the CPU are made of metal as well, right? So you may actually lose contact between the socket and the CPU, and that's not good. That's a blue screen at least, or just a shutdown. So there's all of these factors to consider. So, and the higher the heat load of the CPU, the worse it gets. My system really isn't very happy. So on the 18 core, it's really extreme. At PAX 2018, I was watching Young Pro and High Cookie try and take the XTU world record, and it was just insane, because XTU is a bench that gets shorter depending on how many cores you've got. So on an 18 core, it's really short, but it's also got a massive heat load, so that the precision you need in terms of pouring and torching, you basically, you know, pour for a couple of seconds and then torch for, you know, a couple of seconds, and then the bench is over. Don't know what my system is up to. I may have to clear CMOS, boot once, and then reapply settings, and then boot again. So just to recap, we have a 5.3 pass, and on the 5.4 attempt I poured too much, and that was at 1.5 V core. So potentially, I mean, unless the mount is really cracked a lot, 5.4 should pass with better temp control. Thanks for the sub. Keep, much appreciated. 5-month resub. Excellent stuff. That's LN2 money. And thanks for this, the follow, Yumi. Obviously lurking at the moment, but that's okay. We like our lurkers as well as our chatters. Yeah, let's do a straight boot. I don't know if it's just this particular OS or if it's the platform, but for whatever reason, it sometimes just doesn't like to boot. Basically, that's all I can say. I can maybe change the setting as well, where it applies the multi on boot, the max turbo multi. But we're getting places. We're getting to know our chip and stuff. The other option would have been more B550 benching, or not B550, Phenom 2 550 Black Edition. But that's I'll do that next delivery. So the setting I was talking about was this one. It's under CPU actually. Am I blind? Maybe it is under power management. These should have been set. I'm really surprised they're not set by the profile, but okay, better late than never. Was it on the tweaker? All right, that got a little bit too warm. Come on, bias. At least we still have our 4 RAM channels. I pretty much just want to get rid of my LN2. I just want to have a system that's stable enough. Okay, that'll do. Minus 50. If I get a 5.5 Cinebench out, I'll be very happy. AD. We're booting. Time to get excited. This Acer monitor I've got here, it drives me nuts. It never detects the signal. Okay, we've got signal, and now the secret is we need to approach the temperature slowly, basically. Minus 80. Let's stop the pour there. 85, 86, 87, 88. Now apply our ratio. That didn't apply. Let's try again. Still a little bit too warm. '91, '92, '93, '94. Let's hit it. Time for more LN2. Let's try to go minus 100. Okay, that's minus 100 and the mouse pointer is still moving. Let's give that a go. Okay, that's better. Okay, so it likes being colder. Yeah. Should have torched. Definitely should have torched. All right, taking a quick break while that's booting. What did I miss? Okay, the usual. Let's reset bias. So yeah, basically all of the lessons, or very many of the lessons to be learned here, are also applicable to other cold bugged CPUs, so Haswell and Devil's Canyon. It's not many other ones that I can think of actually. I'm trying to think what would be a typical cold bug CPU. Like Ivy was full pot. Sandy is completely different to this. This doesn't apply to Sandy. All the lakes are full pot. IVE is full pot. Haswell actually, Haswell E. Haswell and Broadwell E would be a little bit similar to this. I really want to bench that again on stream actually, cold. But I think one of my chips is degraded. It's kind of a shame. I hate this F1 to enter setup. Why isn't there an F2 to, you know, tell the BIOS to fuck off? Such a waste of time. Think about all the LN2 being wasted by this kind of nonsense. Alright, let's give it a clean boot. And then restart. Also a bit of a design issue, isn't it? If your OS needs to be booted only in order to be rebooted straight away again. Kind of doesn't make any sense. Well, we've just crossed the 2-hour mark, and we're starting to understand the system and what it wants and what it needs, all of its desires. So it seemed to like the slight bump in vCore. It certainly didn't cause any issues, so let's keep it there. Make sure temps aren't, yeah, we're at minus 60, that's fine. The usual double reboot. I have heard that that Dark is a good board on this platform. Hang on 36, that's weird. While we're booting, I can check out the baseball scores. So 5-0 Atlanta versus Dodgers. Nice. Come on, give me the swirly balls. There we go. So I'll keep the torch handy this time around. Come on, screen. Can't believe this. Alright, let's do it like this. A little bit of naked benching. Well, blind benching rather. Fuck. Come on, screen. What's going on? Okay, I'll have to pull the power, I think. Finally. Holy shitballs. Okay, need more cold. Many more cold. Damn it. I think I need to see a different bench. I think I'm gonna do 1080p now. Well, so memory dependent though. Is it gonna boot? I think that was only minus 96 where it hung, so I don't know, man. Starting to second guess myself a bit. Clean boot at minus 99. Please. It's my wish list. No. Not gonna happen. Let's see if you can work on the RAM a little bit more. Let's see if that works. No frequency applied, just the profile applied. I have seen that happen before actually on some boards where if you're just completely loose on the timings, it's more difficult to get the frequency running. Hang on 32. this is safe booted. Let's try something like 2933. I mean, timings on its own will already work wonders, I suppose. Just frustrating. I don't know what's going on there. Do I have to blast volts, like system agent volts or something? We've got Fatboy Not So Slim in chat. How are you doing? Obviously taking a break from work at the moment. Early lunch or something. Or just really good at multitasking, like we all are. AD 61. Okay, something's happening. Let's try a little bit warmer, but with more temp control. Oops. I don't know how that ended up being an overpour. Obviously wasn't paying attention. Alright, getting more LN2. I was getting towards the end of my thermos and I just wanted to finish the thermos and then get LN2 while the temps are still okay, but I ended up pouring down to minus 103 or something. D5, 62, green light. F6 usually means no boot. Okay. It seemed to, like, going into BIOS and changing some stuff and then booting seemed to help somehow. Don't really know what the failure conditions are with this whole thing. Come on, BIOS. Probably have about 2 or 3 thermoses left in the dewar. Okay, what completely superficial thing can I change in order to get the OS to boot again. Let's disable these two stupid things. See, now I'm getting an AD boot code for some reason instead of F6. All I did was just go to BIOS once and press F10. Alright, we have a full thermos now, so much better starting conditions than last time. So we can slowly pour down. Okay, clocks are applied. That's it. Time for another bench. Any other bench than this. It's driving me completely insane. And we have an F6 boot code again. But this time it's... What the hell? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get anything anymore. Alright, let's just run off a 1080p. Not quite sure what went wrong there. Let's try normal priority. All right, time to pack it in. Yeah, there's probably enough LN2 there to, I don't know, run a 550 Black Edition just for valids. It's just, there's something very, very wrong going on here. Maybe a really bad crack or something, but it shouldn't be this difficult. I mean, Encore and memory are at absolutely pleb levels, so let's have a quick look at the valid, or the file that we did produce, just to see if it's really in order, because it wouldn't, on a day like this, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it weren't. Is that I did pass 5.4. Just wasn't able to get the screenshot out. Whatever. Yeah, it looks fine. So 4044. Well, at least I beat the one guy on dice. Right. You win some, you lose some, as they say. What I'll do is I'll run 550 Black Edition later on today, and just use up the last bit of LN2. But there you go. That's you know, this is pretty typical for Skylag X. It's not an easy platform to run, but we got one score. You know, chip isn't dead, board isn't dead, RAM isn't dead, and there's a score. So, you know, you can't be too unhappy with that. Next stream probably next Wednesday, and I'll definitely be out of LN2, so it'll be something ambient like 3D or something. Thanks for watching. Until next time.